Hello guys, welcome back to my class. Today we're going to talk about our art project and the focus of it, and I'm going to give you guys a demonstration of it, okay? So right now I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. Let me go ahead and present it. All right, so our project for today, or for this week, is Disoriented Art Project. And the big question that I have for you guys that I really want you to think about is, how can I create a 3D installation artwork with found objects that will disorient the viewer? You know, that's a little long, but go ahead. If you need to pause the video, pause the video to think about the question. And what I want you guys to grasp is, how can you create a 3D installation with found objects outside of your house, outside in your backyard, in front of your yard, in a neighborhood, in a park? And how can these found objects disorient, confuse the viewer? Okay, so I really want you guys to think about that. And as you think about it, think about the artists that I have shown you as examples of how they do installation art, how they have done it within a building or in their house or outside, you know, at a museum or in a park. Think about the artists on how they have come up with their disoriented installation artwork. How did you think about it? So go ahead, if you need to pause the video and take some notes on what you think about the artists that we've learned, go ahead, write down your notes, okay? So the next thing I really want you to think about is, think of placement. So what I mean is, so for this project, you guys are going to make a 3D installation artwork, right? But this project is going to be placed in school. So where would you want it to be placed in school? Do you want it to be placed in the classroom, in the corner, in the hallway, next to the lockers, under the desk, on a desk, on a counter, outside of the outside in the building, in grass, or next to the brick walls? Think about where you want it to be placed, okay? But as you think about this part, I want you to come up with 3 draft ideas, okay? And for the 3 draft ideas, you're gonna need a pencil, sketchbook, obviously to write down your notes, or to write down and jot down and draw your ideas, right? The material, as you pick one draft idea, the material that you will need to put your art project together, you're going to use glue, wire, and yarn and strings, right? So here I got some yarn to show you as an example of what you can use. You can honestly go to random store like the dollar store or Walmart to get these, right? Nothing too expensive. And then the materials that I want you guys to find, literally outside, there can be natural materials like twigs, leaves, flowers, pine cones, grass, petal off of flowers are like have fallen, wood, nuts, berries, dried leaves, feathers, you name it. And you can also use trash, so if you see a plastic bottle outside, or if you see a toilet paper roll outside, or if you see like a wrap, or anything that you find outside that can go well with your draft or with your art project, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and demonstrate you my ideas and actually show you my draft ideas as well. So I've come up with 3 draft ideas, and the first thing that I thought of is, the wall plug that we see, in classrooms or, at your house, right? So obviously I'm not gonna use a real one or place my materials in the real one, right? Because that would be dangerous. But what I would do is actually make one, and I've come up with the idea to make it look like leaves are growing out of it. So that's one idea that I have, right? The second idea that I have is making a little house. So this does not look like a house. I apologize, but the leaves are kind of like the roof, And on the sides, they're like rocks or even like little twigs that you could break, right? And in the inside, there's like little petals inside of the house. So with this idea, I thought of, maybe I can put this under a desk, or I could put this outside in the grass to make it look like, I don't know, like a fairy, like a little fairy house, you know, something that blends in with nature. And then the third concept that, or draft that I actually came up with was, you know, using a normal chair that you see in class, right? And I would place, again, like some flowers and leaves and twigs to make it look like it's growing on the chair, okay? So the idea that I'm going to stick with today is draft number 2, just to show you guys how it could look. So as I was walking yesterday, I was able to find, yes, a toilet roll paper, wooden stick, some flowers, leaves, dried up leaves, pine cones, some flower petals that have fallen off of flowers. I promise I didn't pick them off. And some rocks that I found, okay? So as you can see, the ideas that I have came up with, they're gonna be kind of wrapped around on how they blend into the class, into the school, right? Because it's gonna be an installation, and how viewers can look at them or how it can confuse them. So there's some random ants on my desk. With these pine cones, I thought of placing them. Let me go ahead. There you go. Thought of placing them around like that. And obviously I would use some glue or string to keep it together, right? And I would take some rocks, such as that, like that, to kind of make it look like it would be a house, right? And as I do that, as it piles up, I would use, some of these twigs to place them right here, right? Such as that. And the twigs, they would go around the little house. And I don't know if you can tell, it looks like a house, probably not yet, obviously. Apologize, but I just want to make sure, and just to give you guys an example of what I would do, okay? So that way you guys can understand what I'm trying to explain, or what I really honestly want you guys to do, okay? So this is the little house, okay? And this little house is gonna have something inside, obviously. So I picked, honestly, some grass yesterday. They kind of came to cut the grass yesterday around my neighborhood, and I kind of wanted to put it inside, so I did that, right? So went ahead and left it like that. And then I would want to use some leaves to cover it, right? So my idea is I want more twigs, okay? I definitely want more twigs to go around, so that way it can cover like that. It can cover the house. And then with the flowers, I would want them to come out like that. And at first, this honestly seems like it doesn't make sense. Like, what is she doing? But that's the idea, right? This is the idea is to make the viewer feel confused or wonder or feel intrigued towards what they're looking at, right? So for me, if I first look at this, I'm like, oh, it looks like, I don't know, it looks like a little kid made this, or like, what is this supposed to be, right? Obviously, and if I were to actually really, really finish this project, I would want to cover here, right? But let's pretend that it is covered, and then you can only see some of that, right? And as you can see, I use this little plant here to kind of make a little trail. And the trail is supposed to represent just like, you know, like a little trail coming, a little walkway coming out of the house, right? And I wanted to place little petals inside. And these little petals are supposed to represent family, you know, that even though petals fall, their family will always be together. That was my idea, right? And so the last point that I do want to make is I would place this outside like that behind here. So this would be in front. We got a little walkway trail here, and then with a little hut. And the placement that I would want this to be in is outside of the school, right? I would honestly obviously not put this in a place where it's super obvious, but I would want to hide it. Maybe hide it behind, you know, a tree, or hide it right beside the, like, you know, the brick wall, the school, or I could place it behind the school's mailbox, right? Somewhere where it's not obvious, but at the same time, if someone looks at it, they can stop and wonder what it is. And this is the idea that I want you guys to have when you do your project. It's not supposed to look obvious. It's supposed to disorient the viewer. It's supposed to look confusing. It's supposed to not look so, you know, representative. And what I want you guys to do is just, as I said, go ahead and pick some random items. You can pick some pine cones, you know, wood sticks, twigs, dried up leaves, you know, plants, petals, anything that you find. And I want you guys to go ahead and come up with 3 draft ideas. Go ahead and come up with 3 draft ideas and pick one that you really like, that you think that will be, that will connect towards your idea. And as you go through the process, you can play around with the placement of your things, and maybe your idea might change a little bit, but remember that I want you guys to focus on how you want to disorient your viewer, okay? So that's my demonstration. This is just to give you an example. I apologize, it's a bit messy, and it's kind of hard to try to, you know, trying to put the little hut there, but obviously, you know, you guys can honestly go into the woods, you guys can go into the park, outside of your yard, or in front of your yard, your neighbor's yard, if they let you. Yeah, so there's my demonstration. And stop.